Madama.
Ali,
best friend. Yura. Odi apse kakra. Madama. You say you must so ato. Very celebrate. Na yeri kujumedina se. Ena eyeda kase wo biama ba pase mu. Titru ne abiapem nifa. Na umse Yura. Musadia yo angasa betrasia na ayasam kase na enezo kujugri ne kome bi adima na wase aluti di mexleye ya mane ya mamre ya kucheka na chesi senti siti kwa ya faso a extra ga mind and the significance of Ultra festival. So, if you have other person in Ghana, feedback. I hope you are paying it. You tweet to that. Now, I have put that. I'm not very sorry. But that woman, that is it's a long time now. If you have nothing, that we do that in the so. No, I have to say, Emmanuel Mante. Na wabon pai na edit no India. Never suppose to be in man. Please let us pray. Everlasting Father, we are thankful as a people. We are thankful for the victories, the blessings, the joy you have given to us as Okapuna. We are here to witness an enactment of the victory that you won for us many, many years ago. Our prayer is that we will learn lessons of your blessings. And not just that, oh God, but from this year, we are praying for great dimensions of your favor, of your joy, of your peace, of your unity for Okapuna. Our prayer, oh God, is that you take us from one glory to the other. Our prayer is that you take Osiane Lord, his Apakamfo, and all the beautiful chiefs and people of Okapuna to a land of milk and honey. Let your name be glorified. Our prayer is that tonight everything will go on as planned, and we will give you the glory and the honor and adoration. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Oye pase mo kesi amayira ina so papa pepe no ewo ha na yele se no yele ni ibi su ni ti aye se mo ha eni ti ibi kan afese ene jubedi be ansana yebebi set mano eye okre nelifo ewu bema also odisa ebegu fam afre nanom senia ebia mama mate afi ibia na yaka no ya so so na no rauma kwa amane kwanso senia ebia mama mate senia okre amane to na onyamai afi no certainly okay amanitia nanye ne nadifo ombe bom amane certainly okay amaniti certainly fa amaniti the mosetu kuapehini amanitia ombe boy o amane mumura kwa fi jumedia eteneka mani chetu aso ngbadi ene le papa bose ene monte bi na kreso eso nyankopon adom ebuti akote nene no ene be kumala no na nya ni be yi apai mumura mani chetu jumedia aso ngbadi ene
me no more. Okay, I'm going to mind. As I say, and the community have my bosom, the person in the person in the money. Say between Wisdom by almost no canon and see any chumba. In any Yabu about that man. I was out in that man, Bankam in there, smooth to tunda. Then you got your pray, then you got your pray, then you got your pray. Person Nunu, then Yasanafo, person Nunu, Abia Bongo, person Nunu, Jabum, person Nunu. As one of the venue, as a phenomenon de Benu. Mina ya konkwa wonda de man akon da ku wonda de mo Adamu Kofi wonda de mo ayebiremu wonda de mo ekrobesi kwabran wonda de man na nya kokura bo amie na nya kokura bo amie na nya kokura bo ame wutu wasuansu nu tu hu na be ende na sokwara na be na bebeto na suansu be bo suansu na du be onde edu krom anu koto anesere e be so na ninu Nenjamo, and then I'm rich yane, a funny attack, a monk funny, whereas a summons, and then in Nenjamo, or Piapim, in a book Piapim, no curry, in a book career, in more the year, at any better hungo, Nenjamo, and every year, to one canny, and put on the sray, ever son and you. In a year, or two baby, as I to Sunyo, as I won't walk wango, no one boya, net of your wasso, Nenjamo, or curry, and in the year, or Judah, Neniaka. Ina nyotutu ya direte nenwe abutachi akodra wuwe no wambete nifa no tuhunebe enkwade anele eni akore eni esen eni akansi eni irebio eni beni ahem eka eni ahem eni endia ekua ni arade na nuhu eteni asa ne boy eni kutu anesere eni yo promo da hwan etede ina nyosi adeyo kwasi akufu mongbaso mokanpaso mobimbaso apiman engbaso alana ndio osi odumuja otutu ababio nifahene awura ne eba owo abrempon okre ahemfo apiapma ahemfo endi onta awura ne eba afimoban ina nyosi adeyo anabedo abeto 200 afi na ne so eni dingo enu kuto anesere ebe so nti yelumansi sesa kokwa ho achi ebefo enya bonsam sokosale na yeta na bomo ibomo afien abetuki ajem na bejan se ekuapo mama ibe woso na hyehyɛ na bejuro le na nya puti gale wodi abrafo hene ina nya kuku aje wodi abrafo hene ene ne jan aboy moji eni afi na ni be nya akrem na ne momo Atebuki abusofu akwata
Yeda munyina ase As this program is part of art and the showcase of culture, I humbly crave the indulgence of Obrimpon Kesi Osiadeyo Kwesi Kufu III and all gathered here to give me a hearing for a minute. This woman was recently appointed as the brand ambassador and face of art for the 200th anniversary of the Ojura Festival. She is Sharon Dede Paddy, popularly known as Padiki, a Ghanaian visual artist who has gained recognition for her work. She is notably the first Ghanaian who achieved a Guinness World Record for the largest leaf print painting, measuring 54.33 meters square, completed in July 2025. This woman is no more, and I crave the indulgence of Osiadeyo Obrimpon Kesi Kwesi Kufu III, that we all rise for 1 minute to honor Sharon Dede Paddy, popularly known as Padiki. Sharon Dede Paddy, popularly known as Padiki, Obremponkesi Osiade Kwesi Kufu se Nantiye. Sharon Okwapima nyina se Deye. Padiki Nifaman so se Deye. May her soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. Thank you all, shall we sit?
Akra yeda wase ebusia yebeto adwumadi so na babia yadri yebeto nsafre nana krobia asante jake odum na wabekire ya ni nti a ene yesiem e wo se adwumadi as mo me fa se mo hia na enti ene adwumadi no ni nti a yes ya wahano nana krobia asante jake odum eno betire ni nti a yesiem ha wadaroma odum
His Royal Majesty Osiadeyo Kwesi Kufu III, Ukwapehene, Ehunabobrim, Osodumja, Otutu Abebiu, the 5th, Edupomehene, and Ekwapem Nifahene, all divisional chiefs herein present, Nananom, honorable guests, distinguished invited guests, members of the clergy, security services, the media, students, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly observed. On behalf of the Kwapim Divine Enactment Committee, it is my singular honor and privilege to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to you all to this historic Kwapim Nifa enactment, organized as part of activities commemorating the 200th anniversary of the Kwapim Ojura Festival. We are deeply honored that this significant cultural event is being held under the auspices of His Royal Majesty Osiadeyo Kwesi Kufu III, the Paramount Chief and President of the Kwapim Traditional Council, and Ehunabobrim Osodumja Otutu the 5th, Edukuhene and Ekwapim Nifahene, whose visionary leadership, unwavering dedication, and commitment to preserving the rich traditions and customs of Ekwapim Nifa have made today's program a reality. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective journey to preserve, celebrate, and pass on the rich history and traditions of the Kwapim Nifa division to future generations. This enactment is not merely a cultural display. It is a living classroom through which our youth and the wider public will appreciate the sacrifices, courage, wisdom, and unity that have shaped the identity of the Kwapim people over the past 2 centuries. As we gather here, we pay glowing tribute to our illustrious forefathers, whose resilience, patriotism, and commitment to unity laid the solid foundation upon which Ekwapim continues to flourish. We are reminded that our culture is our identity, our heritage is our pride, and our traditions are the guiding principles that bind us together as one people. On behalf of the committee, I wish to express our profound appreciation to their Royal Majesties for their invaluable guidance and support. We are equally grateful to all principal town chiefs and queen mothers of Ekwapim Nifa, members of the Planning and Enactment Committee, our sponsors, the development partners, the security services, educational institutions, cultural troops, volunteers, and every individual who has contributed in diverse ways towards the success of this program. To our cherished guests, Your presence here today is a demonstration of your commitment to promoting our cultural heritage and strengthening the unity of our traditional institutions. We are sincerely grateful for your support and participation. As we witness the reenactment of significant historical events, let us draw inspiration from the values of courage, discipline, sacrifice, unity, and servant leadership that distinguish our forebears. May these values continue to guide us as we work together to promote peace, development, and prosperity throughout Ekwapim Nifan, Ekwapemang, and our beloved nation, Ghana. It is my earnest hope that today's program will not only educate and entertain, but also rekindle our collective determination to preserve our customs and traditions for generations yet unborn. Once again, I warmly welcome you all to Eduku Ekwapim and to this memorable Ekwapim Nifa enactment. May the Almighty God bless His Royal Majesty Ose Adeoyo Kwesi Kufu III. Bless bless all the chiefs and queen mothers of Ekwapim. Bless Ekwapim Nifa, bless Ekwapemang, and bless our dear nation Ghana. Madam Wase.
Semonisa. Absuanti Nana Krobia Asante. Odum ena yatini ken na odisempi na etuba oso do krape hina se nya tefo hwe nya woni gina ye no ene abem woni bresu yi se mfirisia 200 years ahenu odura ebedu akuapem ha na se ya onwaye edibeda ya mane ne ya mamre edino etse ne ene ye wo classroom pepepa ibesua de tie nyina ne yenim fo dwura ene okuapema ho no ibesua ne nyina ne na ose ya mane ne ya mamre ene niema eme ye soronko no yenkura mu pintin na edikanfo abeyebi edi echiri ejaye edu me ne won susu se ebeyebi ato aso na yenyine ye ho asida ma nanom odi asida ama ye tiafo abedmayefo security fo central famo hanu bia uso da maspapa na sabiri ya wachire enienti a ye hye mo hei na afede mehu atitiru pi wo ha ti ye di won betire na yenyakwan atu adwumede ne so timprempre meto safre ye menu apere the boy na atitiru a owo ye nten wudwumedi ase no odi won abetire ni ato adwumedi me fa se bohia the boy yo the boy de otitani me ne dwumedi no ebetire
mina wase ona ma akabura mpanyini mini anoni rofo mejanum nifamang ana manya mpanyini atrankowa apakamfo mani JP se ne osi kwa meda ko memepa otitreni ono so ye mikro mo hene me maye de sa aboya mpan me wo abiri me agropon hyeso mo koko ase nti eto ha me wom nti mpanyini medamase ono nyamfo a na ye bepa oni madawro ma ansana amekasa no afiri eye Kia Sorrento na hodwira su ye tuntum black GN 7047-15 madawroma school foka wode bae no every year kwa nti ontuma ye Kia Sorrento black in color GN 7047-15 misramara ontu maye na school fo no nyakwa na wana ho meja no ne menano aban panyinefo ne achechirefo mpanyin amwo ha David nyum ti adionumba ko yi mweson o si David fa adwura ne wo fere no odwura no na odwura o man Israel
kyerɛ wɔn sɛ ɔsa a mokɔ yi mobɛdi nkonim ampa Israel mankɔ ɔsa no ɔdi nkonim Awurade hyira na kenkan yi so na adom nti amen yɛwo ononyamfo yi wɔ kuro a wɔfrɛ no kyekyeku saa bere no de madanworoma nkanea ni wɔn ti na ɛyɛ kura ɛnɛ de nkanea aba hɔ wɔde kwan dɛm nsu wɔ hɔ nti ayɛ kuro ɔhyɛ n'adesua ase wɔ kyekyeku abrabɔ yɛ bɔkɔ yɛn anim nti ɔbɛtoa so wɔ ɛyɛ ɛbrɛ de ɔkronkron bɔ ɛne etwum mo etwum obi ɛne akyi no nyame yɛ n'adɔm yɛ adwuma na mu anya sika na ɔsɛ ɔbɛtoa adesua so nti ɔkɔ lagɔn no a mofrɛ no legon na ɔkɔyɛ business administration nyame dom 1994 na abɛhia sɛ ɔbɛpɛ ɔhene amadanworoma ɔbɛdandan ɔman sɛnea Israel homa no aka nyankopɔn homa nso aka sɛ ɔhene biara akɔma da ɔno nyankopɔn nsɛm wanka ɔsɔfo wanka catechist wanka polisini wanka teacher ɔsɛ ɔhene enti ɔkasɛ bere mpɔn ɔdanworoma baabi a ɔde kɔ amman bɛfa no ɛhɔ ne yɛbɛkɔ wopue heaven a yɛnso yɛpie wɔ bi 1994 1994 na wɔde yɛwura ɛyɛ ɛbrɛ de wura Nana Saforo ɔkwampa ɔto yɛmfo ɔkɔgye ahene ɔto so yɛbiesa si agua so sɛ ɛbrɛ de hene abusuafo ɛnɛ da yi a mpanyina ahyia ɛyɛ m'anigye yɛma ahomaho a sɛ bɛgua yɛ ahyia ne mpanyini yi ɛbrɛ de hene na ɔbɛtena guam sɛ guantirani na wahwɛ the 200 years of Odra celebration wɔ nifama mu de ama yɛ yɛmfa nsɛmmɔ ɛma na nabaraba ɛmɛda ase
His Royal Majesty Ose Adeyo Kosi Akufo na Otoso Miensa Akuapehene and President of the Akuapem Traditional Council Oye Mai Osim Kwetia the second Akuapem Yasehene Ohene of Amanokro Usudumja Ututu Ababio the fifth the Fahene of Akuapem Okerhene and Adukro Hene Awo Abena Krama Owa Abembo the Fahima Nenye Kwame Hineku Ebiru Hine Nenye Asare Achia Hine Dewo Hine Nenye Ofori Kantanka Abonsi Ohine Distinguished invited guests, students, the clergy, ladies and gentlemen, mene ene pe ya ye me mamu nyina aha me mamu kwaba let me begin by saying that someone asked me who at all is behind or is the mastermind behind this idea. I told him we have one Tia Esundai, and he is the Okuapehene. I thank you so much for this great privilege I'm deeply humbled and truly honored by the confidence you have shown in me to be the chairman for this auspicious and memorable occasion that reminds us not only of our rich heritage, but also of the courage, sacrifices, and unity that gave birth to Ojura Festival, one of the most treasured traditions of Akuapem. I accept this role not for personal glory, but to serve this wonderful cause alongside all of you. Today, through artistic reenactments, we relive the remarkable role of the Unified Division of Akuapem in the historic Battle of Akantamansu in 1826. Available records and rich oral traditions tell us that Akuapem played a great role in this war. Akuapem in their formidable war formations played a significant role both operationally and tactically in securing a decisive victory over Ashanti. The legendary bravery of the Dendi Fahene, Otutua Babio II, and the Akuapem Unified Division in the war effort has been told by many historians and captured in oral tradition. A significant event that happened in the war is the fierce fighting by Unified elements led by Apred warriors that led to the capture of the Odosu war god, the Odosu war god of the Ashantis, at a place known as Akode. It is estimated that the capture of this war god so devastated and weakened the Ashanti war efforts. It weakened the Ashanti war effort spiritually and ultimately led to the decisive defeat. It is also important to note that when the Ashanti were defeated, there were many other relics which Adodankwa and his Akuapem contingent captured in 1826. That were the Ashanti stool paraphernalia connected with the celebration of Ojura Festival. Until that time, the grand and important occasion for all the chiefs and people of Akuapem to pay homage to the Akuapem was the Adaikese. However, with the captured relics, the Akuapem paramount stool began to celebrate the Ojura Festival. Nananum Oseadeyo, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a proud Okre and I'm a proud Akuapem to submit that it is the 200th anniversary of the yearly Akuapem Ojura that we the people of Akuapem led by our current leader, Akuapem Oseadeyo Kwesi Akufurufe. We'll be celebrating, and today's enactment is an important part of going down the memory lane of the rich history of the people of Akuapem. Your Royal Majesty, esteemed Pakamfo of Akuapem, I'm fully aware that the true stars of today are our speakers and all of you who have taken the time to be with us here. I will therefore shift the spotlight to you as I look forward to a successful and inspiring event together. Mini ebi okriasa. Mi senta mi ampoto ka kuma. Ani sa de se. Ani da hwan o si ade yokosi akufu. Ani kuya dode. Madode ete mo nkuya. Yeri Infiano, Elofeño, Ete, Akuapon Infiasiju, Ujura, Nemo Breso, Ninfiano, Elofeño, Nefo. No Moses Ekai, Ebotoku, Neho Kai, Mo Breso Mo, Ohin Fofro, Asem Fofro. Akitemo, Sise Awe, Ete, Adias Rasra, Ene, Nefi, Hoke, Ene, Ujura, Kramasi, Mikatese, Akuapum, Nkudimate, Enijia, and Agana Pe Enijia, Nifa Momokre, Jakoti Papa, and Pes to Tesse. Odosu no Montibiako, enu nature Jura, Odosu anso a prede, or Hene, Momudifahene, Modahwe, or Mobiti Odosia, no more or Modahwe, nature Mene, a prede, no Momudifahene or Muchiso. And no need more, and in the Sakana, more bedroom from Soso, more than my question. Say, any Jura, in a Kayo Juralea, must say a Kayo Kriama, the Kai Fahene, no more. Mina the parent, I thank you very much. You can do better.
Yo, sadly, you're going to have meditation. So, Yera or Kuti Ahine or Tuan from Safo or Kwamba na baby ayagi nana abubo imani bisote nanso the CC Opelibia amane no senia bi apem amane no tem na oniyen abekasa na wabeka mu asem ya kire tie abakasem a ewo udura achi efi abakasem so a ewo ebi apochi na ebi apem ya wamane asanse Osi ahene bankasa ti eya baby ni yan bankasa bi de wa mountain na so bia ni se bia ko bia sabi no me fa se bo Asia Reverend Dr. Alfred Martin na abakosoma ewo dura ho no o be kan kire bon se
I am grateful to the Almighty God for his guidance and strength. I thank the Okwapehini of Mponkese Osiadeyo Kwesia Kufu III and his council for this opportunity. Thank you, Nifahini Ehunabo Brim, Osiodumja Otutu Abebio. When I prepared for this lecture, I asked somebody to tell me how I should greet when I come here. I'm sure that it is Osiodumja Otutu Abebio, the faith, who would mark this for me, whether I said it right or not. Osi minieni yayi. I told you Osodumja will help me. He just did. Thank you very, very much. Well, before I go to the war, I said something in the Okre language. They told me the meaning was good afternoon. And I'm sure it is true. Yes. Well, for the purpose of this lecture, I want to review something little about the Tripon language. The Tripon language. I am doing this deliberately because Nana Chair has said a lot about what I would say. So let me concentrate on this and I'll come back to the war. There is a seeming position of Tripon meaning, which means to some people something else. But I dare say that the question of whether Tripon is a language or not must be approached carefully. The historical evidence suggests that Tripon was certainly understood by 19th century missionaries and linguists as a speech form or language tradition. However, the same evidence also shows that Tripon should not be reduced merely to a language in the narrow modern linguistic sense. Rather, Tripon appears to have functioned as an ethno-linguistic designation, referring at once to a people, a speech community, a Guan-related identity, and a historical cultural group spread across several settlements in Akuapem and beyond. Well, let me also say that in my research, I did not readily come across Okre language. Maybe in the early 19th century and the 18th century, the Okre was not really used, but the Tripon was very much used. That is why I want you to understand the word Tripon as a language or something else. It is very important to me, and I know that Nanache is also very, very important to Nanache. All right. The earliest and clearest evidence comes from Reverend J.J. Crystalis, a grammar of Asante and Fanti language called Chi of 1875. In his introductory notes, Crystalis observed that 5 Tripon towns, Ebrio, Odewu, Eukugwa, with Abonse, Edukrum, and Aprede, have retained their own language, besides speaking Akan. This statement is significant because, first, Crystalis explicitly states that the Tripon towns and their own language, meaning that in the 19th century, Tripon was not simply considered ordinary Akan or Twi. It was recognized as a distinct speech tradition existing alongside the Akan. Secondly, Crystalis' comment that these people also spoke Akan shows that Tripon communities were either bilingual or multilingual. They had retained their own speech while also participating in Akan-speaking political and social life. This is important because it explains why Tripon could later be described in forms such as Tripon Twi. It was not necessarily pure Akan, but neither was it untouched by Akan influence. Crystalis' second statement strengthens this argument further. He wrote that the Guan language is still used in Enum, beyond the Volta, and to the northeast Akwemu. This dialect is not much different from that of Date and Tripon. Date is latte. Here, Crystalis places Tripon in relations to Guan. This suggests that Tripon was understood as closely related to the Guan language family, or at least to a Guan dialect. The mention of latte alongside Tripon is important because latte, like Tripon, appears in older sources of parts of a wider known Akan or Guan-related speech zone. Therefore, Tripon should not be treated simply as a subform of Twi. Rather, it may be better understood as a Guan-related speech tradition that became heavily influenced by Akan because of the political and cultural history of Akuapem. Well, the reports of David Asante on Salaga journey provide even more important evidence. Writing to Basel on 19 September 1878, David Asante identified people he met who spoke what he called the Tripon language, or a Tripon-like form of speech. He observed that in Kratchi, the people spoke a sort of Twi like Tripon. He also mentioned places such as in Chumuru and in Kwakwakro as speaking a form of Tripon. Most importantly, he stated that at Salaga, the real Salagas were Tripon people who who still spoke a kind of Tripong more than that of their neighbors to the south. This report is extremely valuable because it shows that Tripong was not confined only to the Akuapem Ridge. David Asante's use of the term suggests a wider historical distribution of Tripong-related people or speech forms, stretching into areas such as Krachi, Nchumuru, and Salaga. His phrase Tripong Tree is also important. It suggests a contact language or mixed speech form. A Tripong base or identity expressed through tree influence form. This reinforces the point that Tripong should not be rigidly interpreted as a single, isolated language with fixed boundaries. Instead, it should be understood historically as a speech tradition shaped by movement, settlement, trade, political contact, missionary encounter, and multilingual exchange. Well, from these sources, one may draw a balanced conclusion. Tripong can be described as a language in the sense that 19th century sources recognize it as a distinct speech form. Chrysala expressly says that Tripong towns had their own language, besides Akan. David Asante also speaks of Tripong speech and the Tripong tree. However, Tripong should not be interpreted only as a language. It should also be understood as a people, an identity, and a historical category. A more accurate interpretation is therefore that Tripong was an ethno-linguistic identity associated with Guan-related people and speech forms, especially in the Akuapem, Enum, and some other areas. Well, the next time we meet, remind me that I will also talk about Tripong and Okre Pongpo. Enough of this academic work. I want us to move to how this war has influenced the Akuapem people. As this program is exclusively designed for the Nifa division, I will shed a little light on the reasons behind the Akuapem celebration of Ojra. Further, I will discuss Nifa division's contribution to the Akuapem wars overall, with particular emphasis on the Akatamanso war. This decisive confrontation at the Battle of Katamanso near Dodoa on 7th August 1826 is a one to remember at all times, especially in 2026 that we are celebrating the bicentennial of the Ojra. This battle was fought between the Asante army and the allied forces of Akuapem. Enye Akuapem Funkwana Eko Sa Osai. Akuapem Achem Fante Enkran Akwemu Krobofo Osudokufo Shaifo Afe Abrofo te se Danes, Dutch, and a British, and a Kosa or Queen. Well, the battle represents a pivotal moment in Gold Coast history and is widely regarded as an event that marked the decline of Asante military dominance over the southern states. Yeah, me pese me ma yeti ase ne say ebra ye Kosa Queen ana sa osai no na Asantefo edin tintiman ewo oman yi mu pa na se oma ohomene so a na baby fo bia adwane na obia epe baby akọ enti sanse oma ohomene so a na obia epe baby akọ nti nipa bi hwe se kwan be ne be fa so a ye bebre won ase ebio enye Akuapem nkwa ne ko sa osai jetum sa enye Akuapem nkwa ne ko sa osai. Well, if we talk about Akuapem people, who are the Akuapem people? Prior to 1730, we have some people on the Akuapem Ridge, but they have had a lot of issues, so they had to resort to the Ochihinic Council to invite Ochihini to help them. Ochihini brought Safori to help them lead the war so they become independent. They did after the war with the Kwemu people. Now, the Okwapemang in itself was formed in 1733. Safori consolidated loyalty through a ritual at Abotechi, which involved oath-taking. All the factions pledged allegiance and formed 5 divisions and integrated themselves into the Akan military traditions with Trepons, Guans, Kamenes constituting the core component of the Okwapemang as at that time. Well, records already show that the first Adaibutu festival was celebrated on September 26, 1826. And the first Ojra festival was celebrated from 16th to 20th October 1826. That is the main reason why we are celebrating our 200th Ojra this year. I want to reiterate that the Ojra is a yearly event, that we cannot say that at some point the Ekuapem people did not celebrate Ojra. Say you can't say Ojra no edu baby ojaye and osan to aso a enye if you say afi da adeyo a ye edijra Okwapemang. Well, the war in itself in 1826 did not come in a fluke. Eye bibi na koka bibi na bibi ye bibi. Enti mpanisa ukotu se nipa benu kuntokwa emisa se eden na esi na mbisa se na ano eden na esi ye. Before the 1826 war, there was a war in 1824 called the Nsamanko War. In fact, it was as a result of this Nsamanko War that we lived to see the 1826 war. In the Nsamanko War, Sir Charles McCarthy had marched in February 1824 to fight the Asantes. Upon seizing the large army, the Fanti and Wassa soldiers fled, leaving their arms behind, leaving unfortunate Sir Charles McCarthy and his men with the Dentra forces to fight the Ashanti and Anumansa alliance. Well, this Sir Charles McCarthy did not survive because the Asante army was more than the army he was coming with. So he was beheaded. He was beheaded. The Akatamansu in itself was fought for revenge. Na Santefo no say, Ebra, oni Charles McCarthy kokunye no, nipa bi nso kɔboae a na enkranfoɔ akyemfoɔ ne akuapemfoɔ ka ho enti esan nsɛm bɛboa wɔn nti no ne ayɛ no yɛnso yɛne mo bɛko na yɛahwɛ sɛ modi nkonim wɔ yɛn so anaa modi nkonim wɔ yɛn so enti nana ɔsɛe yɛ wakoto ɛyɛ n'adwen sɛ ɔne nkranfoɔ bɛko ɔne akyemfoɔ bɛko ɔne akuapemfoɔ nso ɛbɛko nana onim sɛ aborɔfo no nso afa ne ho adwen deda enti Britishfoɔ, Danesfoɔ ɛne Dutchfoɔ a na onim sɛ ɔnyɔnko broni bi yɛkunu no ɔyɛ wɔn adwen sɛ ɛne yɛn nso yɛbɛdi anim na yɛahwɛ na asantefoɔ adi nkuku. Well, the Asantes were so formidable that they believed they could defeat their enemies, even though they are on their own territory. One day, Oba Oswa was say Obebo na wa brausu. Enti baby a obi a obetimi aba ho na wa bebo if you say ye from kuma pemo a apem beba. Asante Yini Oseyao set off from Kumasi with his army, which numbered about 40,000. The army marched through Achim and Ekuapem towards Dodowa because they had received intelligence on where their enemies where they had gathered. Well, like every war king, the Asante's 40,000 men had 12,000 forming the center, 10,000 to the right wing, 8,000 to the left wing, 8,000 to the rear, 2,000 to the reserve of the king's bodyguard. The army of the coast was made up of, as I said, Ekuapem, Achims, Osudoku, Krobos, Akwemus, Shai, Fanti, Dutch, Danes, and the British. The early morning of 7th August 1826 proved to be a critical period as warriors from both sides prepared for battle by performing various rituals. Sabri ni muno yen koku ewo bra yen nyankuma de bi enti obi a oba okono ode na nyame bi ode nioma ogidi ene nioma obetimi di akokono na yeye na ekokono enya tio ne asekan kwa na sabre no na ye de ko okun abrofo no de no kwasem ne se na wogidi se etio ne asekan ne beboa won nanso yentimamufo de na ye gitum se yenuro nso ebeboa yempa enti asantefo ne ba no wonso ode nuro ebai ode abosom bai ode nioma ebai. Well, the conflict persisted and persisted and persisted until the Asantes were defeated on the 7th August 1826. So 7th August 1826 eya Asante fontam kesiye na woka ontimi nsori enya ho de biarada nipa bi kura kase sa 7th August 1826 inti ena ahema no etwa dancing kran no ebisa de bi si won kran ana ehu na eto wom na emu oden papa eye sabri mu ena senia maka ne da na mekoso aka ne se asantefo a na ose eye kuma pem beba no asantefo a na ose onimku na onim adwane no sabri ni mu ena okono efuno wo munti odwane akon. It was during the Akatamansu War that the Ekuapem army captured the Asante war god and the still regalia of